Hi, I'm Oliver, and welcome to my talk, Ludicrous Speed Up Development with Forge Tunnel and Vite. So, I do have ADHD, and I have a notoriously short attention span, which means I get distracted easily, I get bored easily, and sometimes even frustrated when things take a lot of time, which sometimes happens during development, even with Forge. So, this talk is about speeding things up so that one does not get frustrated and not distracted. We have 4 things I want to talk to you about today. That's the development cycle, how we go from making a change to our code to actually seeing it in action. We have Forge Tunnel, what is it, how does it work, how to set it up, and basically how you run Forge on your laptop. We say hello to Vite, next generation tooling, which really unlocks a lot of things for us. And we look at hot module replacement, which really is ludicrously fast. Trust me on this, you're in for a treat. We have 10 minutes, so buckle up. It's going to be an interesting ride. So, development cycle. We all know this, right? So we have an application like this one, which just loads like some information from the backend. We want to make a small change. Let's add a banner, for example. How hard could that be? Well, it's not too hard. We added 3 lines of code. That's done really quickly, tap, 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 tap. And then, well, we start to build our front end. It has to be bundled, and then we have to deploy it, and then we have to reload the page, and we have to wait for the page state to come back in. Like anything that we load from the backend, it has to come back into the page. And, well, even on this really, really simple page and really simple application, that takes 2 minutes. Other applications we have, it takes around 15 minutes and longer. And it gets worse your bigger application is. So what do you do? Me personally, I do get distracted, I do get annoyed, and sometimes I really lose my train of thought really quickly. But then, hey, in the end, we get a really cool banner. So yay! But let's look at this a bit more structured. So you as a developer, you make a change to the code. That's where it all starts. And now what? Well, you build your app. There's one on the Frontend JavaScript apps. There's a lot of building because the code that the browser understands is code we don't want to write. We want to use the cool features. And of course, the way we write our applications does not work well for modern browsers. So we rebundle it so they load fast. And that's a step that gets longer and longer the bigger application is. But in the end, we have something that we can ship. And of course, we have to deploy it. In our case, Forge Deploy helps us deploying it to Atlassian's infrastructure. And then our change is live. So we still have to reload the page. And if we've made any changes to the state of the application or navigated within our single page application, we also have to read those all steps to get to the point where we have left off when we made our change. And then finally, we can see our glorious change in action. And we can see, is it a good change we made? Does everything work? And do we need to make another change? So, what our topic is today? We want to minimize the cycle time in this dev cycle. First step, Forge Tunnel. Forge Tunnel allows us to do a lot of cool things. First of all, as you all know, Forge has a lot of functions that run on Atlassian's infrastructure. But with Forge Tunnel, you get to run them locally on your laptop, on your machine. All requests are tunneled to your machine. That's where the name Forge Tunnel comes from. And whenever you make a change to the Forge code, it gets rebuilt instantly, which is good. It's really, really cool. And when we have a custom UI frontend, we can just rebuild it locally. It creates static files, and those static files are now loaded from your computer via Forge. So no more deployment. And as an added bonus, you get local log output. So your Forge functions actually write it to your local console and let you know what's going on. So this is really cool, but how do we set it up? We start in the terminal and we type Forge Tunnel, and then, oh wait, that's it. It's literally all that. You type Forge Tunnel, it starts up, and there you go. From now on, all requests that you make to the application in development are tunneled to your laptop. Pretty cool, right? So in our development cycle, we've just eliminated the deploy step. We can do everything locally, which is really good, much better. But what next? What else can we do? We still have some more steps in between our change and seeing the change. And now this brings me to Vite, which they themselves call it next generation front-end tooling, and I have to concur, it's really cool. If you've ever built a web front-end with something like Webpack or Parser, you know what it is and how long it can take. You want to bundle your application into sizes that work really good with a browser, but there's a lot of configuration, especially with Webpack. If you need a different loader for everything, different configuration for everything, you get up to a few hundred lines of configuration just for a simple web application. With Vite, not so much. It calls themselves zero config, but this is the default configuration file. So it's not quite zero, but really, I never have to touch this file. It's really easy and really good. The guy who created Vite, Evan Yu, also created the Vue.js framework, so he knows what he's talking about, and these defaults are really sensible. And the other thing, it's called Vite, from French for the word fast, and it is really, really, really fast. If I compare to React scripts or Create React app, Vite is many times faster, like 2, 3, 4, 5 times faster easily. And that's really, really cool. So just trust me on this. When we look at our dev cycle, building the app is now much faster, much, much faster, which is good. But can we do more? Can we do even more? And Vite can do even more. And this is where it gets really great with hot module replacement. So what does it do? What is it? There's a dev server you can run in Vite. You've probably seen this from other front-end frameworks. It's just a locally running server that serves your application. And you can use Forge Tunnel to connect to that locally running server. Now, if you have this server running locally, what's the benefit? Anytime you make a change to one of your files, the Vite instantly rebuilds your application, or more specifically, it rebuilds all those parts of your application that need rebuilding, which in many cases is just that one file that you just edited. And it then triggers something called hot module replacement, meaning if you have your application open in a browser, it realizes, a file has changed. Now I have to change that component, that file, and nothing else. And it basically means if you have a component that you change, that component gets replaced live in your browser without other parts of your application being touched. And that includes state in other parts of your application. How to set it up? Well, you have to make a few changes to the manifest. It's not that hard. There's a few permissions. There's a tunnel, but there's also good documentation. And then you have to set it up in the terminal to start the dev server. And again, you type Vite, and that's it. When the dev server starts up on my machine in around 400 something milliseconds, it'll be a different time on your machine, but it's an almost constant time, meaning no matter how big your application is, the dev server will always start in almost the same time, give or take a few milliseconds, which is a far cry from other front-end tooling frameworks that take a lot of time if your application gets bigger. So, getting back to our development cycle, how would it look now? Well, we make a change, it instantly rebuilds, all the code runs locally, and we get the page reload automatically. This sounds amazing and a bit unbelievable. Well, I think it's demo time. So we've set up a small demo, again with a real-life app on the right-hand side, which displays a bit of state in the table, a few labels with some colors, and whenever we load that page, all that state gets loaded from the backend. And we have some currently empty component on the left-hand side in Visual Studio Code, and a Vite dev server running some below. And we'll do the same exercise as before. We're gonna add a banner. And the next thing that you're gonna see is in real time, meaning you get to see in real time with no edits or cuts how quickly this runs. So let's go. We go to Visual Studio Code, we add some banner, there we go. Then we save everything, and now watch on the right side, puff, there it is. This is almost instantly. If you're using 2 screens instead of 1 or multiple screens on multiple desktops, it's so quick you hardly get to turn your head in time. And this is, again, in linear time, almost constant time, meaning no matter how big your application, no matter how many components your application has, it's always going to be pretty much like that. And we didn't even lose state in the table. We didn't have to reload anything from the backend, nothing like that. We just inject our new banner into the page, and that's it. So, wrapping up, what did we see today? What did we get to see? We saw how Forge Tunnel can help you run your code locally. There's no need to redeploy for changes on the front end or even your functions. We saw that building with Vite is a lot faster, and really a lot faster. And we learned about hot module replacement and how that basically is instantly seeing what you change in the code live in the browser. And I've got one more for you. Because this is a quick talk, you probably did not get to try everything. So we've created a template where you can try everything yourself. It's set up to automatically start with everything that you need, and really it's just ready to go. Clone it, registers with Forge. There's even a README. And yeah, that's it. It's amazingly fast. There's no distraction, even for someone with such a short attention span of mine. And I hope you really, really like it, and I hope you really try the Vite. So thank you for listening.